All right, welcome to today's stream. We're going to break down a very interesting court scene. We're going to talk a little bit about Game of Thrones behind the scenes. We're going to talk about change, and if there's enough time, we'll talk about whatever anybody else wants to talk about. First things first, though, can you please give me an okay if the audio is good and everything's coming through? As you might be able to tell, this is a new setup. Ooh, you know what's actually not happening very well? Is this. I'm just going to pause this 1 sec. Okay, for those that it's still showing it. Anyway, just want to make sure the Wi-Fi is stable. It's all good. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's a new setup. Obviously, I had to move. Everything came out of the last place. Everything was very difficult for a while coming through that. But so today's a test, and we're going to go through a couple of fun things. So for those that have heard us talk a lot about natural law and holding position and how to handle courts and the rules of the game, I think this one's going to be really interesting because what we've got is a quick look at a court scene, a very famous one called, what's this one called? It's called The State of Georgia versus Denver, Fenton, Allen. And I think some people are actually familiar with this one. And so it's very funny. These people have put it to Rick and Morty. So for those that don't know Rick and Morty, they are cartoon characters, very funny. And the way that they have not only their individual personas and characters, but the dynamic between the characters is really, really funny. So we're going to take a look at that today. And I think we'll be pleasantly surprised. So before we get started, I'm just checking Instagram. Everything's all good. Thanks, guys. I just had to drop the stream before because of I needed to go onto a more stable connection. So we all look good. So Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, looking good. All right, sweet. Let's start. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so I'll break it down as we go. Enjoy the comedic element to it, but let's bring this up here. So State of Georgia versus Denver, Fenton, Allen. And we're going to have a look at why this is showing us a lot of the keys insofar as how to deal with a courtroom from somebody who does not actually know what they're doing. So when I've spoken about this before, many times, you don't need to know, quote unquote, the law to have good success. I don't think this goes very well, but I just want to point out where this guy in his delirium or whatever's going on, or his just, not giving a crap attitude is actually bypassing many of the rules or the spells that the magistrates often look to cast upon the attendee in the courtroom. So let's have a look and we'll break this down as we go.
Okay, okay, Mr. Allen.
Right.
I believe.
So obviously the first thing is American courts might be different, but in our courts they'll say, "Are you Mr. Denver Fenton Allen?" And you'll say, they want you to say yes because they want you to affirm to be in the name. This is very much a criminal allegation here. It's not like a traffic matter or anything like that. So it is somewhat different when you go into those sorts of courts in front of a jury and what have you. But at the end of the day, he hasn't even said yes. He's just gone like, right, as in even that alone is like, I could talk a lot about that, but let's just continue.
I believe that your case was going to trial not this Monday, but the following Monday. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, I tell you, if you need to tell me something, I'll let you come up here to the podium so you can speak into the microphone, and I can hear you.
Yes. The attorney here, I'm wanting to fire him. And I don't feel like he's doing any.
Who are you going to hire?
I'm not going to hire nobody. I'm going to try to get a different public defender.
There isn't. You have a right to an attorney.
This lawyer has.
You don't have a right to a specific attorney.
All right, so this is one of those keys here. You have a right to an attorney. You don't have a right to a specific attorney. Now, again, I don't know the American court system like I know the Australian one. There is some truth to this, but there's also, he could be calling him out on this. This is another thing to break down another time. But you obviously have the choice of choosing, I should say, anyone to represent you. But he's making a key point here. He doesn't want to be represented. He wants to present himself. Now, the judge is going to make a huge case as an offer as to why that's a stupid idea, why you shouldn't do that. But what's really happening is that when someone presents themselves, they're already in a much higher standing in a courtroom than if they are represented by another entity, in this case being an attorney.
This lawyer has made sexual advances on me. He's misrepresenting my case. He told me if I wanted him to do a good job, I had to let him give me oral sex. He's had doctors at Central State Hospital put a false diagnosis on me.
Okay, I don't, I know Mr. Wyatt pretty well, and I don't think he has the ability to make doctors at Central State do anything.
Well, they did it, and he's the one that had me sit down there.
Well,
So immediately what he's done here is he's taking a lot of the attention away. Just let me know that the audio from the YouTube video is coming through okay as well. But what he's doing is he's shifting the attention already away from where the offer is to have the attention stay. And then what he's doing as a result is he's casting these big allegations. Now, this is a really bold move. And oftentimes when you make bold moves, it can actually be, it can go pretty well. It can also go really badly, but it can go pretty well. So I just want to make a point here that what he's doing is he's bypassing, which is what police and magistrates will often do, and what we, not, I won't say should, but can do as a powerful way to communicate, is bypass what's being said and move it on to something else. And in this case, something that's kind of looking to blow it out of the water. It's doubled. Echoing on YouTube. All right, let me just try to see if I can fix that, which I'm sure that I can. Just need to do this. Do I need to do that? Usually comes through fine. Just give, I'm going to play it one more time and then just let me know if it's coming through all right on this. Oh, actually, I know what I need to do. Just wait one sec.
I don't think that he had anything to do with it.
All right, well, he won't give me the discovery. There's things in discovery he's supposed to give me the incident and told me that it was the discovery.
Okay.
They're alternating documents that I've read.
If you want the indictment, I'll make sure you get a copy of the indictment.
No, I'm saying I got the indictment, but he's not complying with discovery.
Okay.
I'm supposed to get the autopsy report, the coroner report, pictures of the crime scene.
Coroner report?
Criminal background records. I want.
Is this a murder?
In the
All right, was that any better with the, it's good now? Okay, I had to mute myself. So I'm going to have to figure out the audio on this side. I might just have to mute myself in between. But what he's doing here is, if you're not really familiar, is you can ask for discovery all the time. And what's discovery? Discovery is when you actually are asking for all of the documents that are going to be used as an offer or an allegation against you. So if you want to have a discovery or a discovery meeting or something like that, what you're doing is you're putting forward, it's like playing poker. It's like this party wants to play the game, this party wants to play the game. Now there's stakes. So now it's basically you're calling and you're like, all right, everybody, you kind of got to like show what you've got. And that's what discovery is. It's like anything that's going to be used against you in their quote unquote argument needs to be brought forward or given to you from quote unquote discovery. So what that allows you to do is see where the other party's at, because it is a game. And generally speaking, depending on the type of case, there's a lot of reasons why this wouldn't necessarily apply. But generally speaking, if it's not provided in discovery, it's not admissible later, because then it's not fair. It's not fair in your defense, and it's not fair for your, your quote unquote argument for what's going to go on. So discovery is very important. And it's something that we can use very effectively. And when he's bringing up that what he wanted is not provided in discovery, he's being facetious here, and some of that's not admissible because it doesn't exist. It's something else. But it's a way that he's, again, moving the game in a different direction from what the magistrate wants it to be. So just give me one sec.
County jail.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get the criminal background records, investigational summaries.
Mr. Wyatt, what discovery do you have?
I've given him everything I have.
You've given him everything you have?
Yes, sir.
He's given you everything.
This is a murder case, and you're
Huh?
this is a murder case, and you're telling me the only thing on discovery is a 4-page indictment?
I don't think he's saying that. I think he's saying he's given you everything he has.
He ain't giving me no autopsy report. He ain't giving me no coroner's report. He ain't giving
Well,
me...
it may be that he doesn't have that. I don't know.
That's what I've been trying to get. He didn't give me pictures of the crime scene. I've seen other people go to trial on murder charges. I've seen what you're supposed to get. I'm not going to work with this attorney.
Well, you know,
It's not gonna happen.
You've got.
I'm not going to trial with this.
All right, I figured out another way to not have a delay. I'm going to mute my own preamp. One sec. All right, that should work. So next time, just let me know that there's no echo again. All right, so first of all, what he's doing is, if you haven't noticed, is he is backchatting the magistrate a lot. Like, he's really butting in, chiming in, interrupting, trying to kind of skew it to this sexual assault allegation from his attorney, which, by the way, is hilarious. I mean, if you want to get someone's attention and you want to cast, like, by the way, this isn't advice, like, you don't do this, but it's like, look at what's happening, look at what you can do, look at what, how you can shift dynamics, or potentially shift dynamics. In this case, it's kind of getting funny, and you'll see later the judge actually starts laughing. But at the same time, you look at what you're able to do that you might think you just can't do. Like, you would never think to talk over a magistrate. You would never think to backchat. You would never think to, quote unquote, argue or get into a bit of a stoush or start making wild allegations and accusations against a lawyer, a prosecutor, a magistrate. But I just thought I'd break this one down because I haven't gone to this extent, but I've done similar things in courtrooms and it's gone really well in my favor. And I've shared a lot of those stories, but it's so helpful when you see the extreme of that. And often, you know, I'm quite well known for using fairly extreme examples or analogies. And I do it because I think in the extremity of the analogy or the example or the situation that I'm talking about, it highlights the crux. Because what I think a lot of people make the mistake of doing is the situation or the example is the lesson. And it's just the lesson, or the words are the meaning. But they're all only alluding to meaning. They're all only alluding to what you're meant to get out of it. And when you can give such an extreme example of something that can bring with it a lot of polarity, for example, it allows people to explore the depth and the breadth of the meaning that is inherent within that, to extract their own true meaning, because there's no true meaning just in the words. It's like, okay, so, you know, when I can't even come up with I come up with these analogies on the spot, and sometimes they're really extreme. And oftentimes I think that they're somewhat humorous. And some people will be like, why do you do that? And I'm like, because the point is to not fixate on the example. And if it's too tame and it's too whatever, there's a tendency to go to the example as if that's what you should do or that's the meaning, but it's not. So the more extreme the examples or the analogies are, the more humor that can be wrapped up in there, whether it's dark, light, or what have you, the more polarity is there. Therefore, I believe it allows the recipient or the individual experiencing that analogy or example to actually extract not just far more meaning, but meaning that is inherent to them, like as in what is the true meaning for them. Otherwise, it's kind of like it's that whole thing of leading people, like the Pied Piper sort of stuff. It's like really trying to make yourself the example or yourself the inspiration or yourself the leader, when it's not. It's like the message is, let the message be extracted by the recipient. And that's why I thought this would be an awesome case to break down, because it's so extreme that within the extremity lies so many little keys for how you can operate in an environment that you may, as a construct of the mind, have a preconceived idea or believe that you cannot do. And this shatters it. Again, I'm not saying this is an example of how you should act. I'm not saying this is what you should say to somebody in a courtroom, but that's the point. This is so far out that you're not going to copy what this guy says, but it should be opening up. Oh, wow. So what he's doing is he is breaking down the constructs of what it's meant to be. And once you break down constructs, you're actually creating more room to have true creativity, true source connection, true essence to come through into the situation. And only then will you get like results that you are creating in the moment. Not when you follow scripts, not when you're like, this is a court, you do this, you don't do that, you say this, you don't do that. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, you do this, you don't do, like all of that's nonsense. It does not apply in the real world. This is the difference between when people talk about quote unquote natural law, because there's heaps of people seem to be talking about it and don't really know what it is. They are missing this like main crux of it, which is that when you break down constructs and you are creating from a pure place of potentiality and not within a construct, now you're operating in natural law. And you'll see that you'll get certain outcomes. Now, this guy is up for whatever charges. I don't know what the exact outcome of this is. I'm pretty sure there's a whole blurb on the internet about this guy and what happened from this court case, and et cetera, et cetera. There's, antagonists and protagonists for this particular character and how he handled it and what he's. But anyway, the main point is like, I believe that these examples are the absolute best, because you will learn far more from an extreme example like this than you will from watching somebody like, do the whole common law stuff or whatever in a courtroom. So I'm going to just try a new way to play this and not have it echo my microphone. And here we go. Just let me know that it's all good this time as well.
This attorney.
Well, you've got two choices. One, you can go to trial with them, or two, you can try the case yourself. Now, I definitely completely think that's...
And I've got a right to have...
Wait a minute. Listen to me. That would be the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life.
So basically, you're sitting here telling me...
Now, you
you're
have
gonna
a...
find me guilty if...
All right, key point there. Did you just see what he did? The judge was trying to talk and he kept going with his narrative. This is huge. The judge tried to interrupt, which he let him do one time. But then when the judge's trying to do it again, this guy just keeps talking. Now, it showed that he had the balance of power there, because what happened was the judge stopped talking and now the judge hasn't interrupted him back. This is key. I don't see many people doing this, but this is something that is very, very powerful to do in courtrooms. And this is very, very powerful to do in general, but not with like your partner or something to that effect. You know what I mean? So just be aware of when to use this sort of stuff and when not. But in commerce, which is what we're dealing with in a courtroom or in the public system, this is very, very powerful. Very powerful. All right, let me just do this again. It seemed to work.
If I go to trial and try to defend myself?
You're probably right. That would be my guess if you try to defend yourself. You don't know anything about selecting a jury, do you?
No.
Do you know anything about cross-examining witnesses?
No.
Do you know anything about criminal procedure?
I know I don't have to let...
Do you know anything?
This guy suck my...
Let me...
To get some legal representation.
You know something? I'll be honest, Mr. Allen. I really don't believe that.
Well, I'm not...
So even just then, as hilarious as that was, he was using the same tactics again. And the way he answered the question, all right, let me just quickly talk about this because this is key here. The way he answered those questions. Do you know anything about cross-examining a witness? No. Do you know anything about like criminal procedure? No. But the way he's saying it, he's not saying no. And in this saying of, the way he's saying no is that he is not receding. He's not, I know this is an energetic thing, but just bear with me if you can. What a lot of people will do is they'd say, no, I don't, Your Honor. Or they'd go to themselves, they'd be like, no, I don't. And what they're doing is they're putting a no, I'll do it this way, and they're hiding behind it. So the no is in front of them and they're sitting behind it. It's like this regression. What this dude's doing is he's going like, no, like, nah. Like, do you know anything about this? He's like, nah, but it's coming forward and off of him and it's going in front of the no, if that makes sense. Energetically, it's in front. So he's saying the word, but what he's doing is projecting the energy beyond what he's saying. Whereas if you just go, oh, no, I don't, you're saying the word, but you're regressing your energy behind the words and it's super meek. So it's essentially, it's not quite incriminating, but it's along those lines what he's doing. He's answering questions, which is generally not what you do. He is he's essentially affirming his lack of ability. But what he's doing also in the process is he's displaying, you can call it arrogance or ignorance, but he's also displaying confidence. And what I mean by that is he's showing the judge that it doesn't matter to him, right? Because the judge is trying, he's like, yeah, you're going to represent yourself. He's giving them the option. Yeah, you want to do that? You're going to represent yourself? Because I think that's a bad idea. Now, is a judge meant to give legal advice or any kind of advice? Are they supposed to advise the defendant? No. So why are they saying, oh, I think that'd be a bad idea? Why? It's playing games. Just remember the courtroom is a room of games. So when they're trying to give advice like that, what you should be, well, if you're starting to learn this stuff, you're like, okay, so something else is going on. There's a game afoot. They're not meant to give advice. They're impartial. They are adjudicating a decision based on facts at law. But in this case, when it's, in America and there's a murder trial or whatever, it's in front of a jury, et cetera, et cetera. I know it's slightly different, but at this stage, it's adjudicating based on facts at law. And so that's what's going on. Super interesting. It's like really, really interesting that a guy with zero, obviously, legal or lawful ability or knowledge is kind of going toe to toe with the magistrate. And to be honest, is doing really, really well insofar as not knowing any of these rules, but not giving the judge power that they do not ordinarily have. It's very, very good to watch. All right, let me bring this back up and we will continue.
Not concerned if you believe it or not.
But
I'm supposed to have a right to an attorney, and I'm not gonna work with this attorney.
Well, that's up to you.
So I hold myself in contempt if you try to pull me up here to court with that attorney.
That's fine. I mean, that's up to you. I told you what your choices are. You can go to trial.
I'm just telling you.
Listen to me.
I'll hold myself into contempt.
Listen to me.
You.
Listen to me.
Go yourself. I'm through here. Y'all.
Yeah. So how many of you would consider doing that in a courtroom? What he's like, other than swearing at the judge and doing the FU thing and using profanities, which you generally shouldn't do, what he's really doing is he's not letting the judge talk. He's the one that's taking. He's like, oh, I'll hold myself in contempt and whatever. The judge is trying to talk over him. So now he just resorts to, which he shouldn't do. This is not a powerful thing to do. Now he's just resorting to FUs and talking over the judge. It doesn't matter what the judge is going to say now. This guy's just going to keep giving it back. And while I don't recommend this, I just want you to observe the energetic of what's happening, and it's actually still quite powerful.
All done?
I'm finding you in contempt of court.
I don't care.
I know you don't, and I sentence you to 20 days for that. And if you say anything else, I'm gonna add 20 days for everything you say.
You.
40 days.
You again.
60.
Go yourself.
A year.
Your mama.
10 years.
Suck my.
You know something? This is gonna be an interesting trial.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
You're not supposed to smile and.
So you notice that? So the first thing that happens is that it's a little bit of a tit for tat and a back and forth. This is hilarious, by the way. And this has been played out a lot of times. Remember The Simpsons when Bart's going to get detention and it's like, I'll give you 6 days. And he's like, is that, and he goes, oh, I'll make it 2 weeks and then make it this. And it's the not backing down. It's the not backing down to threats. And therefore you don't give the other power. It's a really powerful dynamic that anyone can incorporate, especially when you're dealing with people who are in some way a bully or just somebody who's trying to give you an offer that, particularly like or want. And depending on the situation, there's merit to this sort of thing. Obviously this one not. But look at what he just did was he actually derailed where the judge was going. I don't know if you noticed that. But the judge now starts to enjoy this and is starting to have a bit of a smile. So what he's done, this guy, is actually somewhat entrapped the judge into moving outside of their bounds of being a magistrate, which is an act, which is a play, which is a game. That's why they have a certain way about them. It's why they often won't look at people in the courtroom until you engage their experience. Now, when I had the first time, I've shared this before, I'll share a quick version. The first time I went to court, which was for unlicensed driving, unregistered car, uninsured motor vehicle, displaying false plates because I printed them off of eBay and stuck eBay plates on my car, et cetera, had many interactions with cops, all went sort of lengthy, but ended up being okay. I drove off, nothing happened. Eventually, after 8 times, I end up in court and I'm admitting to everything. They're trying to show me photographs of my place. Like, is this yours? I'm like, yeah, they're mine. Just owning it, but not in a way that was flippant. Just, I didn't know what incrimination was. And they were shocked that I'm just like, yeah, they're mine. As in, what's the big deal? I could have done oh yeah, got me. Oh, those are mine. And it's just, again, you're regressing behind the words. But I was like, yep, those are mine. Almost like if you were going to follow on from that, yeah, those are mine. What of it? What are you going to do about it? What's the big deal? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, those are follow-ons that you could do, but you're not doing, but you're kind of saying it anyway. It's not what my intention was. I was just so confident in I didn't actually have the knowledge then, but I was so confident in who I was, and surrounding the position that I was in there for. I was so confident about it that it literally shocked the magistrate. It took them out of their usual position, their usual sense of self. More eye contact, a lot of respect, a lot of back and forth where they weren't doing that with other people in the courtroom. And it was the way that I presented myself that gave me no conviction, no charge, everything was wiped. It was driving without a license, dismissed. Driving unregistered, dismissed. Displaying false number plates on a vehicle, I got charged $100, down from like $3,000. And then displaying an uninsured motor vehicle. They have to be able to try to get you for something under the quote unquote law or the acts. And that was like $150 or something like that. Again, down from like $3,500. And I obviously, like, I didn't pay that or anything, but it's just what happened with the magistrate. How I presented my answers was not in the normal construct of what people think a courtroom is and what the magistrates or the judges are usually used to. And therefore, I got an extremely favorable outcome from somebody who was very dismissive towards everybody else in the courtroom, did not have eye contact, did not engage in conversation or back and forth, did not ask further discovery questions. So many different factors. And this was all based on how I brought myself into the courtroom. And this is what this guy's doing in an extreme way. And this is why I'm playing it for you now. So what he just did then was he's gotten the magistrate to now break character. Okay, so that's like a skill, because what they are doing is they are in character. That's what they're doing. All right. Now, you can have really nice magistrates too. You can have really, really dark ones. You can have a whole different range of different personalities that will show up in a magistrate. But at the end of the day, they are a character in a game. And what is really, really powerful is if you can get a magistrate, or anyone for that matter, a cop, anyone in the public system, to break character. If they break character, they lose some of their standing. And he got the judge to break character, which was establishing a new position, which is how I talk about it in law workshops and courses, which, by the way, there's going to be several of those coming out in the coming months. I'm working on some new things, new material, new courses that I can help take people through this sort of stuff in proper detail, which is way different from just like one live stream or one webinar, which doesn't really take you down a path. I'm working on how to help people go down a pathway of this. So here's where it starts. Here are the principles. Here's how you progress on them. Here's how you learn with them in real time. Here's how you practice it. Here's how you come back. Here's how you progress that. So like actually really helping people along this. But this is exactly what he's doing, is he's established a new position by getting the judge to break character. And now he's about to hold that position by saying, you're not supposed to, like, he's calling it for what it is. You're not supposed to break character. You're not supposed to laugh. You're not supposed to smile. And it's super, super powerful. So let's continue. This is a bit convoluted now, having to mute my my preamp, but here's what it is. Here we go.
Court, you know that if you smile,
I can smile anytime I want.
it's a violation. Now you're cussing and yelling at me.
Okay, I got to interrupt straight away. The judge, so the guy, Denver, he's started on a narrative. You're not supposed to do this, right? Now the judge jumps in, I can do whatever I want. I can smile whenever I want or whatever. That may or may not be true. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. What Denver's done like a master is he has not let that change what he's saying or about to say. He's not jumped into engaging in that like, yes, you are, or no, you're not. He's just let it go. And this is what the skill of those in the public system have, is they also do this. They ignore what you say and continue along with the narrative of what they began. And he's doing this like, I'm going to backtrack, say 10 seconds. We're going to watch that again. It's extremely powerful. Just watch as he does this in real time. He ignores what the judge is saying, even though the judge is jumping in. And what he's doing is he's not falling into the trap of being redirected by the judge's attempt or offer at redirection.
On court, you know that if you smile,
I can smile anytime I want.
it's a violation. Now you're cussing and yelling
I
at me.
have not cussed.
Yeah, you did.
I am yelling.
Well, go yourself. Suck my
That's why I'm yelling.
Suck my
You know something? You are absolutely the rudest person I think I've ever met.
You reckon if I let you suck my that I could get a fair trial here?
Oh, I don't think so.
I got a big now, and if I pull it out...
I don't think that's gonna get you a fair trial unless you have
I'm done.
every one of the jurors do it.
I don't think that mouth is big enough, sir. I've got a big old donkey.
You know, I'm sure mine's not.
I've got a big old donkey for that ass.
Good. I'm sure the women love it.
I don't...
Can you see what's going on here? Okay, outside of the construct of what you might think should be going on or not within a courtroom, why is this judge going back and forth? Can you see, like, outside of the words that are being used, which I don't recommend or endorse or anything like that, outside of the connotations and the, you know, the debaucherous nature of what he's playing at, what's happening is the judge is being sucked into a back and forth. They're not meant to do that. They would either normally just ignore this altogether or silence them or make decisions in their quote unquote absence because they're not really present if that's what they're going to do. But this is a masterful display of bringing the magistrate into his territory. Would the judge normally entertain, you know, a narrative of this going into that and the nature of what he's talking about? I don't know, maybe. I mean, we know what some magistrates are allegedly doing behind the scenes under the counter and, you know, that sort of stuff. And it's not of a nice nature. But like, this is just the most masterful display of changing the game. So for those that have heard me talk about that, I've done several streams on it. Changing the game is when we don't allow the narrative, the offer, the construct, the whatever it is of what's being offered to us to remain as offered. As soon as you start arguing within that construct or whatever you're doing, you're still in the construct. It's like when you protest the government or whatever, you're still within the construct. You're for it, you're against it, doesn't matter. You're in the construct. You empower it no matter what. You've got to get used to, you've got to learn the art of changing the game. So you don't want to stay within that construct. You want to move to a new construct that either already exists or that you create a new construct and move it to that. Then the art, because the game will be, they will try to ignore that and or draw you back from it. But what you want to do is maintain or hold your position, we call it, maintain your standing by keeping it there in that game, which takes some practice if you're not used to it, because the tendency will be to fall back into arguments or defense based on the original offering, but you just need to like let it go. Like this is being displayed so well during this court scene, and keep it in the game. Very, very powerful. All right, let's continue with the debauchery, although it is hilarious.
I don't girls.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I boys.
Oh, I'm sorry. You prefer men.
I boys.
You prefer men, right?
I white boys.
White or black?
White boys.
Oh, butt boys?
With big butts.
Oh, of course. You know, you look like a queer.
Well, okay, so now you're calling me a queer in the courtroom?
I didn't call you one. I said you looked like one.
You're yelling.
Do you understand?
So you see what he's doing? He's trying to set traps and then hold the judge accountable. Really, really smart, by the way. And for those that are asking, yes, this is a real court transcript. It's very famous. It's called State of Georgia versus Denver Fenton Allen. And you can look up a whole lot of information on this. This is the court transcript, the actual court transcript. It's just been played out by the characters of Rick and Morty because it's funnier.
In the English language.
Wait, you're yelling, you're laughing.
Do you understand the English language?
This is kangaroo court, sir.
Do you know what? No, we're not in Australia.
I mean, if you want to suck my you can do it any time now. We can get this court.
Okay, so a couple of things. One is, again, he's just throwing him off and then the guy's now like laughing and whatever. But that's not the meaning of a kangaroo court. For those that don't know, kangaroo court isn't a court that's in Australia just because it's called a kangaroo. It's actually where due process isn't followed, and it's kind of gone to a foregone conclusion without due process. It might have been a perversion of justice. It might be, essentially, it's just like a dodgy court. It's where you come in, due process isn't followed or fair trial or whatever, and a few dodgies are pulled, or you're not heard properly or whatever, and then it's gone to this conclusion that is not really in your favor. That's a kangaroo court. It's got nothing to do with Australia or anything like that. So that's an offer. That's like, because the judge here is kind of making the presumption or the accusation that this guy's not very intelligent. Do you even know the English language? Do you even know how to use words? Do you even know what you're talking about? And then the guy, he's like, this is a kangaroo court, which is a smart thing to say, because what he's saying is, well, he could more powerfully phrase it as a question, like, you know, well, he could actually just phrase it as a question. Are you attempting to pervert the course of justice? He could ask that to the judge, right? In which case the judge should respond. And if not, he can like keep bringing it back to that until the judge does respond. But he's making the assertion that it's a kangaroo court, meaning it's not a fair trial. This isn't how it's meant to go. Now, of course, the way he's conducting himself in the court isn't the best, but he's removing constructs and creating new ones, which is actually more powerful than anything else. But what he's doing is, what the judge is doing is, that's a sneaky little way to say that the guy's stupid, and the guy doesn't rebut it. So this is one little thing that is very, very key insofar as how we learn about how the game is played in a courtroom, and the tactics that magistrates will often use. I'm not sure if anyone picked up on that, but it's like the default agreements, what you're saying without saying. It's inserting something that's not rebutted. It's not rebutting presumptions. All of these subtle games that are played are being highlighted here in real and very hilarious time. So just once again, the guy says, is this a kangaroo court? And the judge is laughing, and he's like, do you even know English? And he's like, this isn't Australia. But that's not what a kangaroo court is. The judge knows that. Like, the magistrate is not an idiot. The magistrate knows that. What he's doing is he's like testing the guy. Does the guy know what a kangaroo court is? Does the guy know what he's actually saying? As in, are you attempting to pervert the course of justice? That's what he's really saying, but he's just calling it the vernacular of a kangaroo court. So in this situation, the judge won, because the judge used a lot of intelligence to reframe what Denver was saying, and then put it in a way that Denver just failed to utilize the position that he actually created by suggesting that there's a perversion of the course of justice. So super high level stuff. And like any high level game, like if you watch professional sports, irrespective of the bread and circus side of it and whatever, you watch two high level people go at it in tennis, boxing, like whatever. Even if there's like a victor, the game will often like pass for like, well, this guy's winning now, or this guy's winning now, or he got the better of that rally, or he got the better of that exchange, but this guy's 2 points up, but then this guy's 2 points down, but he got the better of that exchange, and now it's even. Like, that's what's going on here. You're seeing some fairly high level game being played, and you're also seeing that even if you're like the quote unquote loser of the game, as obviously Denver's going to lose this game, he's getting a lot in there, but a little subtle thing like this, a little subtle trick of the trade, and the judge is just like, you know, made him look stupid without him having to say that he's stupid, if you know what I mean. Like, that's kind of was the intent from the judge, and he succeeded in that small isolated part of this exchange.
Sir.
You're so cute. I know all the inmates just love you to death.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I bet.
All the white butt boys love me to death, too.
Okay, well, I'll bet they do, and I bet all the rest of them do, too.
You ain't supposed to smile in court.
I'll bet everybody enjoys sucking your
You ain't supposed to be smiling in court. That's a violation.
I can smile anytime my dadgum want to.
Now you're yelling at me again.
I am. I'm yelling.
You're getting mad.
Can you hear me?
You're shaking.
I am yelling at you.
Well, reckon...
So if you ever see a cop or a magistrate shake or something, you should probably mention it. We've done this a few times. I remember one of the first rallies that happened around here during 2020 in the lockdowns, and there was police trying to read people's stuff off of this, like, you know, public health, whatever script, and visibly having a little bit of, I think I'll just bring this up, visibly having a little bit of shake while they're reading, because they're surrounded by people who just obviously aren't happy about what's going on. And so, because in one of those situations I was there, and I was just like, oh, are you shaking? Like, and when it's brought to somebody's attention that they're shaking and they know they're shaking, you bring it to their attention, they really don't want to continue doing what they're already forcing themselves to do it. Now they really don't want to do it. And in that situation, what was supposed to happen from the cop's end didn't happen. It just became like this, oh, you should leave or whatever, instead of here's a fine or here's a whatever. So funny. It's really, really powerful to do that. All right, here we go.
You can suck my
Yelling!
Can you take a break?
Yelling!
Can you take a break?
I'm yelling at you!
Can you take a break?
Yelling!
Can I get my sucked?
Can you hear me? Yelling!
Can I get my sucked?
Yelling! Yelling!
Are you ready to suck now? Have you got it all out?
You know something?
You will, but you want me to you in the butt then, right?
Oh my goodness, you've got plenty of that over in jail.
I could see it in you when I came in the courtroom.
Okay, that's fine. You're gonna be here on... Let me tell you how this is gonna work. You're gonna
You
be...
ain't gonna tell me shit.
Listen.
You say he lets the judge start to kind of pull it back in and then just like breaks it straight away. Again, I don't condone this kind of either language or way of speaking to somebody in general, but you do notice the dynamic that occurs during the process here.
Listen.
Suck my
Shut up. Listen to me.
Suck my you man.
Listen.
Suck my
You will be here in the court on
You'll
Monday.
be here sucking my
You will listen to me
Go
now.
yourself.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how this is gonna work. You either listen or not. I don't care.
I'm through. Can I leave the courtroom?
No.
No, you've got to stay here.
No, I'm not talking to the bastard.
We are going to have the trial Monday week.
No, we are. I ain't going to trial with this lawyer present.
Listen, if you do not...
Suck my you stinking ass cracker.
If you act like this, I will send you out of the courtroom.
Old bitch ass cracker.
And leave you out of the courtroom during the trial.
Horse ass cracker.
Do you understand
Horse
that?
ass sucking ass.
Do you understand that?
big butt,
Do you understand
man
that?
ass cracker.
So most people, I think, are familiar with the dynamic of understanding or saying that you understand something. You notice he's just completely ignoring the rhetoric of the judge. He's not saying things like, I don't answer questions. He's not coming back with what you would learn in like a common law workshop or something like that. He's, again, not saying things that you should say, but the dynamic, the actual premise of what's going on is still very, very powerful.
Cracker.
Do you understand that?
Getting mad, ain't you?
Stupid.
Red face.
Listen.
Now you're calling me stupid?
Listen. Yes, I am.
This is Kangaroo Court.
You know what? You have a constitutional right to be a dumbass.
Why don't you jump up on the stand
You have a
and jump
constitutional
around
right
like
to be a ass.
kangaroo, you dumb bastard.
Well, if you-
Suck my I ain't listening to nothing you say.
Come in here Monday
And
weekend.
how about this? I'll kill your whole family. And when I get in this trial, I'll murder your whole family. I'll cut your children up into pieces. I'll knock their brains out with a hammer and feed them to you.
Are you taking this down?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to refer you to the district attorney's office.
I don't give a who you're referring to.
I'm just telling you.
I thought you were referring to my mother man.
Aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and we'll just
I
add
don't give
to
a
it.
I will murder you, your whole family, your kids. I am not supposed to be in jail. I was framed. That mother asked me to eat his ass for a bag of coffee.
Well,
and now you're telling me that I got to go to trial with this man over here.
He's
probably a pedophile.
You're obviously fixated on butts and
Huh? I'm fixated on your mouth.
No, you're fixated on butts and
You got a nasty mouth, sir.
I have an awful mouth.
You have a big old
This is just crazy because just prior to that, he was making the worst kind of threats you can make. But the fact that, so here's the thing is, it's not the words you use, it's the context in which you use them. And obviously, when somebody's going to this kind of extreme, it's quite obvious that it's, he's not being outright serious, but he's using contempt of like, you know, how you should be conducting yourself and what have you. But what's really interesting is that the judge was on board with that, as in that room, in that dynamic, in that construct that was created. And now it's changed back again in a way that is like, that was led by Denver. If you notice that, Denver was the one who has been leading subtly the dynamic in where the judge will get actually visibly angry, actually laughing, actually whatever. This is all in response to or in relation to Denver. So if you look at who's controlling the dynamic, yes, of course, he's going to get slapped with stuff. The judge in this situation has, quote unquote, the power of what can happen because he only has to call the police and the sheriffs and whatever to handcuff this guy or taser him or whatever, right? He technically has the quote unquote power. But in this dynamic, it's Denver that's actually leading the dynamic. Denver doesn't care what the judge is saying. The judge is threatening him with all sorts of things. Now, Denver threatens the judge, okay? we're all equal before and under the law, right? You want to make threats? Well, here's threats. Again, don't do this. But at the same time, Denver is the one. Are you guys seeing this? Are you noticing it? Denver is the one leading. Denver's the one who doesn't care what the judge says. But then Denver says stuff, the judge sort of pretends he doesn't care, but then comes back down to the fact that it is getting to him. And then he's making threats in retaliation, whereas Denver's threats are just because he feels like it. It's just coming out of a place that doesn't care about what this judge is doing and saying. Supremely high level stuff. Just if you're going to do it yourself, just don't copy what he's doing, obviously. But very high level stuff. All right, let's continue. There's only a couple of minutes of it left.
Fat mouth.
I do.
You gotta have a big old mouth to get this in it.
I sure do.
All right.
Yep, I'm proud of it.
I'll make sure the next time I come to court, I'll pull it out and jack on you.
Okay, why don't you do that right now?
I jack on white boys.
Well, why don't you do that right now?
Just like I jack on females.
Do it right now.
I can't do it now.
Do it now.
I ain't got.
I don't care.
Take off the cuffs.
How many hands do you have to do it?
Take off the cuffs.
Come on. No. Jack.
All right, so even like I've been in courtrooms, I would never, ever expect a judge to be engaging in this kind of thing. Like, I'll do it now then, like really calling him out, because anyone can just say stuff like, oh, I'll do this to you or I'll do that to you. But when somebody says, all right, we'll do it now, that's a different kettle of fish. But now now Denver's like, all right, we'll take the cuffs off then. So now the response to that, or the defense by the judge is like, oh, well, how many like hands do you need or something? But clearly he's handcuffed. So it's kind of like, if you look at the way this guy's behaving, I wouldn't put it past him to actually do it. But again, what's happening is he's got the upper hand here. Now, I know the rhetoric itself is kind of ridiculous and off the charts, but at the same time, the energy dynamic, who is succumbing to who? And at the moment, the judge is the one succumbing to having to back out. The judge is the one here having to back out.
Jack off.
This is Kangaroo Court.
Come on, jack off.
This is Kangaroo Court.
Jack off right now.
Are y'all getting this?
Yeah, they're getting it.
I'm gonna make sure this guy done called me stupid. This motherfucker done told me he was gonna suck my.
I did not say that.
He wanted me to him in the butt.
I did not say that either.
You're a real nasty ass judge.
I am indeed, and you're going to find out
Now,
how nasty I really am.
You'll find out how nasty I am when I murder your whole family, bitch.
Okay, that's fine. You'll be in jail so long you won't have a chance.
The babies will be going, Daddy, help me. I'm just going to knock their brains out with the hammer.
Okay, well, if I had any kids, you'd probably be able to do that. But since I don't have any, it doesn't really matter.
Well, then I'll get your nieces, your nephews, your sisters.
It doesn't really matter. I don't have any of those either.
Grandkids.
I don't have any of those either.
Aunties, aunts.
How can I have grandkids if I don't have any kids?
Brothers, sisters.
Stupid. You're just completely have no idea of the English language.
You're not gonna suck my sir. I don't want to be here.
Okay, I've enjoyed this. I hope you have. I know everybody else in the courtroom has enjoyed it, but you can go now. And
all right, well,
if on Monday week this happens again, you will not stay in the courtroom.
Suck my sir.
Okay.
I'm subpoenaing y'all's ass in the courtroom.
All right. So what do we learn from that? What do we learn from that? We learned what not to say in a courtroom, but we also learned that there is so much more that goes on in an energetic dynamic than what most people think. Most people fixate too much on the words. They fixate too much on the do's and don'ts, or the construct that's already offered, and don't really look to break through that construct. That was how, from my first court appearance, well, not my first, but my first under those kinds of charges, went really well, because I broke that construct for myself. Like, I didn't even, like, I would not have been able to explain to you what I was doing then, but I did it. And that's what's going on here. It's supremely fascinating to watch. And the fact that that's a real transcript is, I don't know, kind of mind-blowing, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't expect that. But you notice a couple of the times where the judge laughed and Denver laughed. Now, that indicates that there is a mutual recognition of a game being played. I didn't even, to be honest, know that this kind of game could be played in a courtroom, to be fair. Even though I'm explaining that we've got to move beyond these constructs. Either way, it's like, it's a very fascinating thing. And you just got to be able to take away from an example like that you're beyond the words, beyond the threats, beyond everything else. If you look at what's really going on, there's laughter on one side, there's laughter on another. Now, that means that there's some kind of mutual other game being played. I just did a stream before on a private stream. And some of the guys we were talking about how, well, I was talking about how when we're kids, oftentimes we have these subtle dynamics that are at play that adults aren't privy to. It's like another language that's been spoken or communicated with. And that's how like kids can help kids within a classroom. And it can be completely unbeknownst by the teachers or onlookers, especially if they're adults, because they're not tapped into these subtle natures of being a kid anymore. We still have them, but we often just indoctrinate or stress ourselves out of these more subtle natures of being kids, where we're more open to things like psychic connection and what have you. And, you know, you can observe this if you know what you're looking for, but also specifically if you're, you know, of a certain, if you remember back to your childhood, you probably remember things like that happening, phenomena like that happening, and these little worlds within worlds where those outside of the world aren't privy to the conversations, even if those conversations aren't verbal that are happening. So you probably might have picked up that there was a dynamic going on behind the words, behind the threats, behind everything else, that was something else going on. And that's why that was able to be played out the way that it was. But there were so many high level lessons in that as well. So just quickly, what do we got here? It's all about discernment. Yes, it is. Listen for the message relevant to the listener. A circumstance is relative to the student, not the master. Yes, 100%. G'day, Aiden. It's good to see you. I saw you had an email, Aiden. I'll get back to that soon. They're becoming subservient to the magistrate's assumed authority. Yeah, that's what absolutely happens all the time in courts. The magistrate is controlling the outcome by leading the defendant down the path of the court's preferred conduct. Yes, 100%. Even so far as standing up and what have you when the judge walks in. You don't have to do those things. Owning one's choices without surrendering to the guilt admission for the prosecutors attempts to have you confess to the criminality of your actions under the written law. Yeah, it's all like a very energetic game to start with. G'day, Fractal Dust Bear. All right, just quickly, I'll go to Instagram. Oh, Instagram removed it, but that's all right. That often happens. All right. Anyway, that was a good lesson. I hope that we enjoyed that and learned from it. It's not a studio yet. I just have a blank wall, but this will be a new studio being sort of put together over the coming weeks. So hopefully it all went okay. I'll figure out how to handle that echo thing another time. But yeah, look, there's as entertaining as that clip is, and as widely known as that clip is, I bet a lot of people didn't know that there was a lot of hidden messages and lessons in there that really show what a game that whole construct is. It is a game. And when you learn how to play it, when you learn the subtle rules of the game, you can really you can do things that you wouldn't think are imaginable. And that applies to all facets of life too, not just, a courtroom or this applies to almost everything that involves constructs. What's a construct? Well, that is from familial, as in family environments, relationships, work, the government, quote unquote, the public system, all based on constructs. So when you can learn about how these games are played, you can start moving characters around. Before that, it's like, this is the character, this one says this to that, this character's not powerful, this one is powerful, this one does this and that one does that. That's the narrative. So that's the script. But once you start becoming aware of the game, this is how scripts are written. This is how characters are created. This is how a backstory of a character is created. This is how this dynamic is supposed to go. Then you start being able to move characters around. Or now all of a sudden, this one's magic wand doesn't do what it's supposed to do according to the script. And you can re-script that. You can flip the script. You can remove yourself from that game altogether and be in a different one, and even draw others into that, where you are the producer of that, for example. You're the one that's written the script, the narrative. And unless they figure it out, or until they figure it out, it's going the way that used to go. So anyway, this stuff to me is super exciting and very empowering. I hope you guys get that too. When I was young, I smiled and waved to the judge, and as she entered, she broke her composure and smiled at me. I got 500 hours community service, dropped down to a $200 fine. It was great. Well done. That's very similar to my experience I was talking about before, where I was the only one that she looked at. I was the only one she engaged with. And but good on you for doing that, because you broke a construct. You broke an implied agreement. and you rebutted a presumption. All massively powerful facets of natural law, not like court law or common law, natural law. So anyway, I enjoyed doing that anyway. So I have another one for you soon. Just keep an eye out on socials for when they will come and the titles. It's great when you guys join in and add to the stream. So thank you for joining. Thank you for participating. And I'll see you on the next one.